Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is Speedplay Papal Italy number 5. In the last episode, we took everything that we could ever legitimately want, and more still. Needless to say, we're going to probably go after even more. We go ahead and back the Greeks in a crisis, hoping to encourage at least one European power to get on our side. Unfortunately, after looking through the possible really just bribes we could give any potential ally, we find out that there is actually nothing we can do that will encourage anyone onto our side, which is a terrible bummer and means that if we can't at least get a white peace, we will be forced to fight every other European powerhouse in the world simultaneously for no good reason. Needless to say, I'm not entirely enthused by this prospect, and I attempt to offer a white peace which they do not accept. So we're going to take our armies, which are nowhere near up to full strength, to the border and attempt to just organize everything we can as rapidly as we can in order to hopefully hold this out. Luckily, we are able to get white peace, and the Ottoman Empire then goes bankrupt immediately, so it really probably wasn't that much of a threat to begin with. Ultimately, we couldn't have dealt with all of the European states simultaneously, so we are very lucky that it didn't come down to it. However, we did still do very well in the last war. Not well enough that we can take on the world just yet, however, that's probably where we're going to go next. We're still building up our army. It'll probably take at least a few years for us to get from where we're at now to our max capacity, and in fact earlier on we switched our focuses to soldiers in order that we can get just the maximum amount of military potential as we possibly can. We're also upgrading our naval bases and hopefully going to just get further research into our navy so that we will be able to build battleships, cruisers, and eventually dreadnoughts. As you see, we are keeping our army as large as possible, and ultimately the goal is going to be that we will go over our infamy limit and from that point basically be forced to fight the world. Now, I think that when we are properly built up, we'll be able to do that with relative ease. Now, admittedly, we did have a bit of a hard time in the beginning of our war against the French and Austrians. However, that really quickly swerved into our favor once we were able to destroy their armies and move forward. Fighting the whole world, and in fact just fighting states in general, is going to get more difficult as time goes on because states will be able to field larger armies. One of the things we're going to have to deal with is Africa, which is just a massive area. We also have revolts all throughout our countryside. We go ahead and just delegate our armies to deal with that automatically, except in Dalmatia where we have to manually bring a force over, and really just in Europe in general. At any rate, Africa is going to be a significant problem, just because it's just a large open area. It'll take a lot of focus and micro in order to actually defend it properly, and it really probably doesn't deserve it in a lot of ways, because Europe is just a much more important area. We also go ahead and get a tech to improve our economy just a bit, as once we do go to war with the world, we will face a large deficit, more likely than not. At any rate, we are in a much better position now than we were before. Our armies are coming together very well. We go ahead and just start building additional forces because we can, and we have the ability to defend it, or we have the ability to afford it. Austria is at war with the Ottomans because they finally did join the Egyptians, and that is great news for the Egyptians. They hopefully won't lose everything just right out the gate like last time. We also begin to bring our forces over towards basically our most populated area in our African holdings, as we're going to declare a quick war on Sokoto, as well as just get our forces all ready to go. Now, we're really at as strong of a place as we can expect to get. We do go ahead and get more technologies to increase supply limit. You'll notice the British are attacking the Austrians, so we don't have to worry about the British or the Austrians attacking us for the near future. Not that they were likely to. At any rate, we get men for the colonies, which is a nice event that will hopefully make a few of our areas into states in the long run. We defeat 2 Sokotian armies, and immediately get the province. I didn't take any more from Sokoto because it really doesn't matter. Now that they're under 5 provinces, once we get nationalism and imperialism, we can go to war to fully annex them, making a protectorate. We go ahead and create another few armies, and really at this point our armies are ready to go. I feel confident in saying we could take on maybe not the entire world, but a large portion of it if we really wanted to. Now, the question that raises is, where would we go? We do end up getting called to war in Central Asia for whatever reason. Meanwhile, the Russians don't appear to be winning too well against the Chinese. And our armies are almost done again. I keep saying that we do just continually build them up, as quite frankly there's no reason not to. Now, we are going to want to take as much African territory as we can, as quickly as we can, when the wars do occur. Because we're going to still be fighting a series of wars, not just one war with each state, or wars that just last forever. And ideally, if we're able to take the African holdings of our neighbors, we'll be able to start pulling troops from Africa to actually fight in Europe and move further in Europe. I know that sounds a bit backwards, and we may end up doing the exact reverse of that, although it really would probably be for the best if we, well, that's really the thing, is it's up in the air. I'm not entirely sure what the best course of action will be. We do have the majority of our armies in Europe, just because it's the most valuable area. We're fabricating a casus belli on Austria. We're probably going to take Croatia, which would jut us out into Europe proper a bit more than I would like to. However, we'll just have to go to war with the Ottomans and take more lands from theirs. An interesting goal that we may end up aiming for, since we do still have around 50 years in this campaign, and we're already talking about declaring war on the world, would be to take the entire coast of the Mediterranean, since we are, after all, Italians, led from Rome, the ancient imperial capital. It may very well be worthwhile. We do go ahead and build one last army, and the French declare war on us. Now, we do have our forces all across the border, so we just rush over. And here is our quick war plan. It's pretty straightforward. They had no forces on the border, so I think it's reasonable. Now, there are French forces in Africa, and as I was saying, that's going to be a bit of a problem for us. Ultimately, though, more importantly is Europe. You see, the French are bringing considerable forces against us. We do manage to win that first battle pretty decisively. We march forward and attack them. We're also attacking another group of French. I discover that B is the hotkey to bring your battle plans up or put them away. And we go ahead and add a few war goals against the French, because really we may as well. We also surround one of their armies, just completely encircling it, because I noticed that in that first battle the French army retreated and escaped, and when we followed up and attacked them, we actually got a considerable amount of losses in the process. So if we encircle armies, we only have to fight them once, and then everyone who isn't killed surrenders, just like that. The French army was not able to escape, and really, if that's one thing we could bring into more Paradox games, I would really like to have that again. Encirclements are just such a vital part of so many games, and it adds a lot of strategic depth. For instance, at this point, we're really just going to be bringing our armies around and encircling every French army that we even slightly have a chance at encircling and destroying. Just like this army in the south, we are encircling. Unfortunately, we don't finish entirely. We bring our forces around and try to encircle them once more. And it really does add just a pretty great element. The French are offering us peace, but I don't want to accept it. We're starting an election right now in the hopes that we'll get another jingoism increasing event, as that's really all we can hope for in order to get our jingoism up enough. And I don't want to peace out just getting what we asked for right now, as it's not really enough to warrant this whole war. We'll have to destroy the French army every time we want to get any concessions from them, so we may as well get to at least as close as we can to 100% in every war. If that means spamming a few elections and waiting a couple extra years, that's still probably going to be better in the long run than actually piecing them out and waiting the 5 years for the truce to end. Because that's 5 election cycles, and I'm almost certain we'll get a jingoism increasing event in 5 election cycles. So election spam is the order of the day. The French armies have been pretty much soundly and resoundingly defeated throughout really all fields. Even in Africa, we're doing well against them, which is pretty nice. They do attack us in the one place we're easily able to bring reinforcements, and we just start driving through their countryside, encircling them wherever possible. Now, at this point, there is a significant French force coming over. We do get, unfortunately, we are the attackers, which means they get the defensive advantage. We destroy the French army in Africa, except for a small group we have to chase after. However, they end up attacking us, so we get the defensive bonus there. And we just keep attacking their forces wherever possible. We have this army completely surrounded, which is great news. That will hopefully cause them quite a few losses. They're also in Dalmatia, but we have increased our naval strength, so we can go after that. And really, with that all said and done, the French aren't really in a position to fight us anymore. We call another election, however, at this point we're already running a bit long. So, once we end that major battle that we have the French army encircled at, right there and then, we'll spread our forces out and call it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. We do still have that casus belli on the Austrians. It expires in a few months, which means we're going to have to declare that war. Here is the war as it stands right now. The French have taken significant losses, however, so have we. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.